Good morning and welcome to the Saturday Morning Sports Debate Podcast. I'm your host, BA. I have with me James J. Train Martin and Jack Hirsch. Hope you gentlemen are doing well this morning. It is Super Bowl weekend. Tomorrow is the Super Bowl. I hope everybody is ready for that big game of the year between the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots. Basically, a couple of our questions are NFL related. We do have, of course, the NBA All-Star game is coming up next weekend. We do have some NBA debate questions as well. So let us get started here. Considering Bill Belichick was snubbed of a first ballot Hall of Fame entry, does Adam Vinatieri or even Roger Craig deserve to be voted ahead of him? Let's see. We'll go with Jack first.
It's a different category. In all honesty, it's a complex question. Now, they were on the same ballot, Craig and Belichick. Vinatieri wasn't on the same ballot as Belichick, and Robert Kraft won. So Vinatieri wasn't facing Belichick head-to-head on the ballot the way Roger Craig was. And Roger Craig's a player, Belichick's a coach, and the answer would be, no in this situation. Even though you win with players, it's called a Hall of Fame, meaning what mark did you make on football history? You have to think of that. And Belichick has left a major mark on football history. Years from now, we're going to look back on the careers of both Bill Belichick and Roger Craig, and we're going to talk a heck of a lot more about Bill Belichick and the impact he had as opposed to Roger Craig. Now, Roger Craig had a wonderful impact, with the 49ers as a running back, during the Montana, young era. And this isn't to say that he's not worthy, but head-to-head, if you had to make a choice, Bill Belichick certainly has meant a lot more historically to the game of football than Roger Craig, accomplishment-wise, winning. He's won more and won longer than Roger Craig. And again, the Pro Football Hall of Fame is going to change the way they do things because it's very hard to pit a participant against the contributor. Okay? It's so hard. And it bothers me in other sports, this. Because I see certain fighters, certain heavyweights out of the past, like Jerry Quarry, never quite became a world champion, but he gave everything he had to the sport of boxing. And then you see some women boxers who I haven't even heard of. And I'm a voting member. And they somehow get into the Hall of Fame. Okay? Or contributors in the sport, someone who's like a publicist. He or she gets into the Hall of Fame, and the fighter who was such a big name in the sport and accomplished so much doesn't. And that's the situation I think we have here with Belichick and Vinatieri. And Vinatieri was part of the Belichick tree, at New England too, which I'm sure James will bring up. But keep this in mind, Vinatieri, you can argue, launched the Hall of Fame type career when he was the Indianapolis Colts kicker as well. So, he's twofold. But do they deserve to be voted in ahead of Bill Belichick? In short, the answer would be no. But the way the system is set up, it makes it really very complex.
Well, look, Roger Craig, like you said, Vinatieri, he came from the tree from Belichick, but he made his own mark as well when he went to another great team with Indianapolis and won another Super Bowl outside of that tree. And so, and it shows you also how great he was of a player and how clutch he was, because he's only the third true place kicker that has made the Hall of Fame. The other is Morten Andersen and Jan Stenerud. Yeah. Jack, you probably pronounce that better than I can.
Jan Stenerud.
Jan, thank you.
Stenerud, yeah.
Yeah, Stenerud. Okay, so he was inducted in 1991 and in 2017, respectively, for Morton Anderson. So, and that's in the history of the NFL. So he's in rarefied air. So it tells you how great he is when we're talking about Adam Vinatieri. And also Roger Craig, we can't poo-poo on what he's done. It's been a long time coming. He probably honestly should have been in the Hall of Fame because of his contributions with that team. There were multiple Hall of Famers on that team, and Roger Craig was probably one that was left off, probably for his infamous fumble against the New York Giants that led them to go to the Super Bowl and the NFC Championship. I mean, but this is a guy he's the first pioneer, obviously, to have 1,000-yard rushing and simultaneously 1,000-yard receiving. There's only been two other running backs that have done that, Marshall Faulk and Christian McCaffrey. So again, rarefied air, another guy, 1,500 yards. And this is another thing, you got to look at it. He wasn't just a running back. He was a fullback. He was a fullback initially. So he had to block and get those yards and lead the 49ers in receptions at times, and, with 70, 90 plus receptions. And this is a guy, again, it's a long time coming. It's well overdue to be in the Hall of Fame. And then you got to look at some of the things the knocks. As much as we give credit to Bill Belichick with getting all those appearances in the Super Bowls, albeit with the Giants as a defensive coordinator twice, and then the 10 appearances with the New England Patriots, once as a defensive coordinator and the rest as a head coach. He had some controversial stuff going on there with Spygate, with some under his watch Deflategate, a lot of things that might put in a writer's mind. I'm not saying they were right about it, but might put in their mind to say that these are things that you might strike against him to say that he may not be able to get in because he might be penalized for that. I disagree with that because I think the rest of the majority of his career is pretty stellar and, outstanding as a head coach and a defensive coordinator. But those are things that might be in the minds of the voting writers who say, like, look, and then also his personality with the media as well, that might cancel out, him being a first ballot Hall of Famer. But it's unfair to Vinatieri and to Roger Craig, the players, to say that you get in ahead of me and you have maybe these strikes against you. So I would say that they probably got it right this time, barely. I mean, it's weird. I agree with you, Jack, in this instance, that they're likely going to make some changes. And I think I read that somewhere that and how the criteria is based, because it's pretty tough to say that you don't get a guy in his first ballot with that type of record. But I'm not going to blame the players that got in as well, is what I'm saying.
Well, it makes no sense for Belichick to be on the same, and Robert Kraft as well, to be on the same ballot, to be voted, with Vinatieri and Craig. I mean, they had different roles. It's like in baseball, if I'm going to ask who's a better player, Johnny Bench or Willie Mays, one was a catcher, one was an outfield, we were talking about Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds a week ago. You can't just answer who's a better player. It's different positions. I mean, you can answer who's more valuable, fine, but you can't say who's a better player and who's more deserving here. I will say this, if I was going to go the opposite way from when I went, in defense of Vinatieri, if I asked the average football fan, and not the knowledgeable football fans, I mean, who is the biggest clutch kicker in NFL history, chances are Vinatieri would get the most votes. So if I'm looking to build a case for him. Roger Craig, well, he's not exactly Barry Sanders, but, he was pretty darn good.
Nobody is. I'll put it to you this way. I don't, and I kind of agree with you, James. Don't punish the players that were ahead of the Bill Belichick. I mean, that's just something that happened. I do think that the Hall of Fame voting should be a lot different. I don't think it should just be left in sports writers' hands. I think there should be a conglomerate of people that do it. I think the reason why Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft were snubbed for their first, Hall of Fame appearance. I mean, the media is petty. They're really petty. And Bill wasn't the kind of guy that, initially he was a good guy with the media, but then he, as time came on, you keep asking him stupid questions, which somebody should be getting. What happens if there was a media Hall of Fame, a sports media Hall of Fame? We go out there and vote for them and say, well, you asked the stupidest questions, so we're not going to put you on a ballot, even though you're like, one of the best sports journalists down there. You got to flip the script a little bit on people like that, because I feel that that's the reason why neither one of those got in there. And we were having this conversation the other day about Tom Brady getting in. Will he be a first ballot Hall of Famer? And James, Stanley said he should be. He will. I think that if the sports media outlet does the same thing with Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft, he ain't going to be a first Hall of Fame ballot entry. I just can't see it, because they're going to be as petty as they possibly can. They're petty. They're just petty. We all know that they should have got in the first round. Come on. Anyway.
Well, I don't think it's going to happen again, because the drawback has been so bad, over, Belichick and Kraft, especially Belichick not getting in. Imagine Tom Brady didn't get in on the first ballot. I mean, all hell would break loose. And I think they're kind of on guard against that. So, we'll see. But they do actually have.
That's true.
I think the votes have to be made public. Whoever's voting, their name should be attached to it, because look, boxing judges are out there. We know who they are, who they vote. Umpires are out there. NBA officials out there. I mean, the Hall of Fame voters, you have to be able to back up who you're voting for. And if you don't want that as part of the job, then don't take it.
Yeah, I wish there was this outrage when T.O. was getting, T.O. had this chance to get in the Hall of Fame. I wish there was outrage then.
Wait. But there's a tangible.
You're barking at the wrong tree with Jack, man.
I've been completely open about it. I mean, you can't have intangibles. You can't talk about leadership. You can't vote for someone based on leadership and intangibles and use that to build someone up and vote for them, and then ignore it when it's the exact opposite. Okay, some players tear down teams, certain star players. They tear down teams, okay? And they're terrible in the clubhouse. And you have to take all that into account.
I mean,
I disagree with that wholeheartedly, because some of these guys do things off the field that are terrible and still get in. And but
that doesn't affect the team's performance.
It doesn't matter. Yes, it does. If it's in the news,
but that's a morality.
You lose credibility with me or with fans.
But that's a morality thing. So you don't like the guy because
it's the same thing in regards to what's in the locker room. It's pretty much a morality thing.
It doesn't affect things. Okay, I'll give you the case in point. Stephon Diggs, someone playing in the Super Bowl. Hey, maybe he's been a positive for the New England Patriots. If he has, what went on off the field isn't going to affect me.
Because they're in the Super Bowl, Jack. They're winning. If they weren't winning, this would be a problem for sure. Winning cures all. You can't tell me that a team and I'll be honest with you, it's not you specifically, but the system is hypocritical. It's very hypocritical. If they're winning and their players doing something that's absolutely just asinine, boneheaded, stupid, and that will cause themselves trouble, they're gonna cover it up because they're winning. They're gonna ultimately cover. But if they're not winning and you're a problem, of course they're gonna get rid of you. Yes, it becomes an issue. I think the situation with T.O., he's won wherever he's been. He's won wherever he's been. But when the career waned and he's still being the same person he was.
He wasn't on a Super Bowl winning team, T.O.
Not winning. They went to a Super Bowl. I'm just saying, when I say winning, meaning teams getting to the playoffs, they're having levels of success. San Francisco has had levels of success when he was playing there.
And he threw his quarterback under the bus.
Yes, he did.
With Donovan McNabb, and that hurt the team.
Yeah, I mean,
yes, but there's always three sides to a story there, Jack. I'm not saying T.O.'s. I'm not absolving T.O. of anything, but you got to look at everything that plays a role in those type of divides. And again, he produced on the field. That's ultimately what matters, and that's where I agree with Brian in regards to how voters vote. I mean, you just can't do that. I mean, you got to look based on what the person was able to produce on the field, and his numbers were stellar. You just, I can't agree with that.
I'm fine with that, but don't come back to me ever and tell me leadership, intangibles, what someone means in the locker room. Don't bring that factor up. Just show me exactly what he does on the field. Once he leaves the field and goes in the locker room, then don't ever come back to me with a player and say, oh, he has great leadership skills. He helps the team with the morale, with this, with that.
Well, you don't have to worry about that with me.
Right.
You don't have to worry about that with me. I'm more about, me, I'm a stats guy. I'm more about a guy that's producing on the field.
Yeah, that's something that you have to.
Old stats, okay, but then leave
that's
it.
Something you have to take it with the Hall of Fame committee, because I'm sure they're under enough fire already for the kind of things that they're doing. Like you said, B, they're petty. It's really petty. It's like, okay, I can't wait to see you at the end, and this is what we're going to do to you when things are not in your control. That's childish and petty, for sure. Exactly. Yeah. Speaking of voting in people into certain specific games, all-star games, Hall of Fame, whatever it may be, did LBJ deserve to be selected to the NBA All-Star game? This is LeBron James we're talking about. He did place 8th in All-Star votes with 1,819,776 votes. James, what do you have on that? Because I know that's your guy.
Definitely my guy.
And clarify the question before James goes. He is going to be on the team as a reserve. Did he deserve to be selected as a starter? Is this the question?
No, just to the All-Star period. Just to the All-Star period. Yeah. Look, I'll name some of the names that had similar numbers or maybe better than LeBron James. Kawhi Leonard. 27 points. LeBron James is averaging right now in 33 games, 21.8, 5.6 rebounds, and 6.7 assists on 50% shooting. He's 74% free throw. He's always been that. But his numbers are far less than what his numbers have always been for LeBron. But comparatively to other star players, he's up there with them. He's maybe played a few less games because he had some injury. But this is a guy that's LeBron James. LeBron James is arguably one of 2 or 3 greatest players all time. Let's go back to Jordan when he was with the Wizards in 2002 and 2003. Jordan got those all-star games, and he was 38 and 39 respectively, had injuries, and averaged maybe 21, 22 points a game and got all-star nods. This is where you look at what matters. It's whether or not a player is how he impacts the league and how he gets national attention. LeBron James and Michael Jordan were greatly impacted the league and the national attention and garnered from their play and from who they were. Just that alone. And so to me, if I had to compare a player who's maybe have a few more points more than LeBron James, maybe a slightly close percentage shooting, I'm going to go with the greatest player ever. I mean, not ever when I say the greatest player in the game, at 41, still doing his thing at 41. He might not be the best player at the moment, but from the viewpoint and what he's still doing, I'm going to give the nod to him. It's a vote. And so somebody like Kawhi Leonard was averaging 27.7 points a game on 49% shooting, 91% free throws. He's balling out. But his team is 24-27 with James Harden on the same team. This is names that they mentioned that could have been to the All-Star game. 25.4 points a game, 41% shooting, 90% free throws, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. Again, what is it coming to where, what is it, what fruition has shown itself that, that they're winning or anything like that? They're 24-27. Not something I would choose. I would choose LeBron James on the Lakers. They're winning right now. They're 33 and thinking 17 or 19 or something like that. So they have potential to be in the playoffs. And his part of it is because of LeBron James, obviously Luka Doncic, and without what's the kid's name? Austin Reeves. He's finally back on the court now. He was out for a whole month. So I'm just saying LeBron James deserves to get the nod because of his name and still stellar play, albeit it's not the same as what it was for him, but still stellar play in comparative to what his contemporaries or peers at this juncture of his career. He pretty much, like I said, he got hurt a little bit in the beginning. He missed a few games, but he's been stellar all since then. Not stellar as a reach. I'm going to say he's been really good, and he's been steady, and he's been efficient at 50% shooting. So I would say LeBron James deserves to be as a reserve, and not a starter. That's not what the question was, but as a reserve, I think he deserves the nod.
So this is coming from someone who's a stat guy, who says, well, even though LeBron's stats aren't as good as some of the other players, put him on because he has the intangibles, he has the leadership, he has all those other factors going for him. I mean,
I didn't bring up the leadership. I didn't bring up leadership. I didn't say leadership.
But people do rally around LeBron. He is a major leader just by his presence. I mean, you would agree on that. And I also know with the Dream Team, you could have been a little heartless. You would have called for cutting Magic a bird and putting Isaiah in their spot because, at that point in their career, they weren't as good. So let's go.
Now you're throwing words in my mouth. That's funny. That's hilarious. I wouldn't dare do that. I try to be as fair as possible.
I don't know what those guys meant, but if they were bad guys, that would be a little different. But in the case of LeBron, you're talking about cold stats and performance. He's good now. He's a good player now, but he's not, as quite all-star level, based strictly on performance. There are a few other guys you could maybe put ahead of them. We would have to sit down, go over certain names, and so on. So on merit, no, he doesn't deserve to be in the All-Star game. But if you want to put him in because it's one of the people just commented, Robert, he's box office, he's this. He adds to the ratings of the game, the appeal to the game, selling tickets to viewers on TV. Of course, you put him in for those factors. But does he deserve to be in? That's the question. Does he deserve
to me, that's the thing. I wouldn't make those arguments if his numbers were putrid. They're not putrid.
They're not as good, but does he deserve to be in strict merit? He might come a little, he might be close to deserving, but he's not deserving. And it was
let's put it this way. He plays point forward. Those are point guard numbers. What I told you with LeBron.
Why do you want LeBron in the All-Star game if there are probably some other guys who have just better stats? A few other guys. You're a stat guy, James. Let's go with your stat guys and put them in. Let's forget about LeBron's intangibles like TV ratings, tickets, being the big name. I mean, I'm just saying, does he deserve to be? And now, would I put him in the game? I would put him in the game, absolutely. I would put him in if it were up to me because of the fact that he's box office, but he doesn't deserve to be selected to the All-Star game, even as a reserve, even though he's still a good player. He's a good player, just a little short at this point of being an All-Star.
All I gotta say is that the All-Star game, just like with anything, any other All-Star game, is fan generated. 50% of the NBA All-Star game voting is 50% fan generated. So I can see the reason why he got in, because the fans love LeBron James. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But don't call it. I mean, I guess you could call it an All-Star game if you're going to go back to. I don't know if the rules have changed since, when was the last time that you felt, Jack, that the All-Star game was based on the best players in the game? I'm just saying, when was the last time you saw that happen?
Well, the truth is no one cares about the NBA All-Star game. They play no defense at all. It's just a bunch of long-range shooters. It's playground stuff. No one really cares about it. I mean, the best thing to do is, really just let the players decide everything, the starters, the reserves. But then again, maybe that wouldn't even work because these players have grudges. A lot of them don't like one another. So there's never a perfect system.
That's true, Robert. I understand
that. That's a great question, Robert. And we would have to sit down, look at the All-Star rosters, see who was left out, study all the teams. And unfortunately, it's not time to do that on the fly at this moment. We'd have to really analyze it.
I mean, if the NBA All-Star game was based on stats, okay, that'd be one thing. But once you put the fans voting in it, it destroys all credibility of anybody that's getting it. I mean, LeBron played 33 games this year. He's 26th in scoring. He's not even in the top 50 in rebounding. And he's really not known for that anyway. He's 12th in assists. The four players that he got in that are score lower than him is Scotty Barnes, Jalen Duren, Chet Holmgren, and Karl Anthony Towns. Now, the thing that probably got this question because he just got in there is Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard didn't get selected into the NBA All-Star game until later. He just got put in there. So a lot of people have found fault in that because Kawhi was putting up good numbers, and they felt that, well, he's just as much. I'm not saying he's as superstarish as LeBron James. LeBron James does bring the tickets out, but he has the right to be in the All-Star game as much as LeBron does because of his performance during the season. So this is the reason why this question was generated in the first place. But like I said, it's all NBA. Nobody really cares about the All-Star game, Pro Bowl, any of the All-Star games in hockey, baseball, any of that stuff. Nobody cares about that stuff. You're just basically voting for who you like to see in the game as far as the fan. Okay. So, and you can see by just a lot of these All-Star games, the fan voting has a lot to do with who's in there. Because, I mean, let's take, and I'm not saying Shedeur Sanders is LeBron James, but Shedeur Sanders got voted into the Pro Bowl. Okay, he's an up-and-coming name. He didn't have a bad season, but hell no, I would not put him in the All-Star.
Justin Fields turned down an invitation to the Pro Bowl.
It's the fans have a lot to do with it. That's all I got to say. And the fans are the fans, and not a lot of them know ball. And besides that, if you're giving them the opportunity to even vote in that situation, you already threw out the stat part of the game anyway. I'm just saying with that one. All right. Okay, here's a question that will come up soon. Probably when the NBA season is over, but thought we'd throw this in here just to get the juices flowing on this conversation here. If Chauncey Billups is found guilty of running an unfair gambling ring, should he be taken out of the Hall of Fame? Go ahead, Jack.
Does it have anything to do with the NBA, the gambling ring? Did it have anything to do with games? Now, I know it's easy to say, well, Chauncey Billups had an excellent career as a player, so he's in the Hall of Fame based on what he did as a player. But if it had anything to do with point shaving or this or that, in regard to the NBA, he's really smearing the NBA. Really hurting the game. And it's sometimes we make decisions retroactively. You see that in sports all the time. You saw that in baseball. The players who were deprived, who were in the Negro Leagues, were put in the Hall of Fame later the way they should be. That's a retroactive decision. Now, I know that's a bit different from what we're talking about with Chauncey Billups. But if you gambled, you did something illegal like that, and you were hurting the NBA by doing it, you were hurting the integrity of the NBA. The NBA has every right to act. This is different. You could give an example like O.J. Simpson or something. Should you ever take him out of the Pro Football Hall of Fame? Anything that went on with O.J. Simpson had nothing to do with football per se, okay? But in the case of Chauncey Billups here, did it have anything to do with the NBA? That's the question, and it's still going to go to trial at some point. If it doesn't come out where the NBA is an issue in itself, and he was strictly running a scam, with this card game, I'd still leave him in the Hall of Fame if it had nothing to do with the NBA. But if it comes out that it was affecting anything on the court, then you have to take him out.
Well, it's going to affect everything that was on the court, because those are some of the allegations. There's nothing else that he was doing that didn't affect sports, and particularly basketball. So yeah, he's likely to get taken out, but I don't think you take him out. I don't think you take him out because has that even been done ever before? Maybe you go back, and take guys out. Usually things that are found out about certain things, it's usually before a guy enters the Hall of Fame, like Pete Rose, that sort of thing. They found out, him going into the Hall of Fame, that he had something to do with gambling, sports gambling. So this is just, his situation is egregious. The allegations are egregious. The things that they were doing, he was inviting players over to his dealing with the mafia, and they had technology that allowed them to see, the bottom face of cards, X-ray, vision, and different things like that, glasses. There's all kind of things that was going on that just was like totally egregious. And those guys were set up to lose. And if they didn't lose, they were muscled into paying their money. If they did lose, they were muscled into paying their money back. These are all that types of allegations, which sounds terrible. That being said, again, everything that he got into the Hall of Fame for was for his scoring. Now, the one thing I will say, if there are allegations that he was giving out as a coach, giving out statuses on players and different things like that while he's coaching, that will get him taken out. But if it's everything else about the betting on sports and stuff like that, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say he doesn't need to be taken out. Why is he dealing with some sort of mafia group and he's only getting paid $7 million versus him making like 30 million or so like that? It sounds kind of weird. I don't know if they got naked pictures of Chauncey Billups.
Some of these guys.
Say it again.
Yeah, but it's a little different. Take Emmanuel Klaus, the Cleveland Indian pitcher, who's been in the news. Now it came out that he rigged 48 pitches, or 48 games or something, pitches in.
Oh, yeah.
If he got in the Hall of Fame and we found that out after he got in the Hall of Fame, should we take him out? Or, there's
Of course, yeah. I would say yes. This is what I'm saying. If Chauncey Billups, if he's guilty on the charges of affecting games, like while he was a head coach, those are one of the allegations that he was giving status of players to people who were betting on certain things. Yeah, that affects the game. That affects everything. He should be taken out. But if it's not, if it's just the other things and cheating guys out of their money, as egregious as that stuff is, it has nothing to do with the game of basketball except what you said before, the moral aspect of it. It's just more so just that. And that should not take him out of the Hall of Fame for that. Now, again, affecting the game itself, that I would have to agree with that. I can't argue against that. But the only aspect that's affecting the game of is just pretty much a stain on the sport itself, with one of your greatest players in the history of the game doing some things that just aren't favorable in the eyesights of human beings. Although we are all hypocrites.
Wait. Michael Jordan didn't run any gambling rings. He just gambled himself. I mean, what? What does that have to do with anything?
I'm just saying. I'm not saying that. I didn't bring Michael Jordan up.
Did Isaiah put you up to that to mention Michael Jordan now?
I didn't bring up Michael Jordan. I just said one of the greatest players.
I mean, everyone knows who you meant. Come on, James.
No, come on. That's he wasn't even on my mind. I'll be honest with you. I'm speaking of Chauncey Billups himself and what he's accused of. What he's accused of.
I agree with you on this. Why on earth would Chauncey Billups want to do that? You're the coach of the Portland Trail Blazers. You've made all this money in your NBA career. And it's like you're involved with a gambling ring as a hobby. I mean, maybe
for $7 million.
Let me point this out. Maybe Chauncey Billups is innocent. Maybe he was involved. Maybe he didn't intend any wrongdoing. Maybe he thought what he was doing was on the up, and there's a misunderstanding here. He deserves to stay in court. We don't know, if he's found guilty. That's the question. Then what would the issue be? But why? But at some point you have to sense you're with the wrong people, you're with the wrong group, or you're doing the wrong thing. You have to kind of sense that at some point. At least he should have.
Well, maybe they made him an offer he couldn't refuse. I mean, they are the mafia.
Good Godfather reference. I just got to say this. Chauncey did this as a coach. If he is found guilty, no, he shouldn't be taken out the Hall of Fame because he didn't do this as a player. He went in the Hall of Fame because he's a player of being a player, not being a coach. Now, I guarantee you that if he does get, and it has anything to do with the NBA and his ability to affect the outcome of these games as a coach, I guarantee you, if he takes any of his teams to the, once he comes, if he's able to come back even to coach a Portland Trail Blazers and they go to a championship, it's going to be a dead championship to him because he's not going to be recognized for that. They'll probably erase all that coaching, all the coaching record that he has as far as that. They won't omit that into his Hall of Fame career, obviously, because he did this as a coach. He didn't do it as a player. At least I'm hoping he didn't do this as a player.
I was going to say he would lose credibility in that regard. They're going to look back at his history as a player.
If it's something that went back in the time, but this has nothing to do with that. The crime that he allegedly committed happened as a coach. Didn't happen as a player. Okay, it happened as a coach. So even if he's found guilty of it, and he shouldn't be penalized for his career as a player. Now, probably Portland won't. If he's guilty, Portland wouldn't welcome him back as a coach anyway. Probably, yeah, you got to go, bro. and then his NBA career doing anything is over basically. But taking him out of Hall of Fame because of that as a coach, no, I wouldn't do it at all. It's not going to happen. I haven't seen that happen yet.
Brian, for some of us, for me as a voter, I like to look at body of work because sometimes the individual, all the time, the individual can only be in one category. So if he's done other work, it pushes him over the top. For example, I vote on the International Boxing Hall of Fame, and there's certain fighters who become trainers. Now, they're borderline Hall of Famers, but if I can, as a fighter, but when I consider what they did as a trainer and they made a name for themselves, it pushes them over the top. On baseball, take Joe Torre, excellent player, borderline Hall of Fame worthy. But when you consider what he did as the Yankee manager, that absolutely makes him a Hall of Fame. And the question is now, in what category do you put him in, contributor or active player? But it does make a difference in the case of Chauncey Billups, what he may have done as a coach. But he didn't have enough of a body of work as a coach, but it could have made a difference.
Yeah, but I mean, he went in as a player. He didn't go in as a coach. These are things that are aftermaths of the whole situation. So, I mean, to me, it shouldn't, unless they can find something specifically that had to do with his playing, then no, I wouldn't take him out. If he was doing that during his playing time, then yes, take him out. I have never seen anybody getting taken out of the Hall of Fame, but there's a first time for everything, right? So it all boils down to that. Next question, just in time for the Super Bowl. We can add this one because we love Jerry. We do. We love Jerry because he's always there for sound bites and clownish behavior in his elder age. Sorry, Jack. Should Jerry Jones relinquish his position as GM for the Dallas Cowboys? Go ahead, James.
Well, hold on. I went first on this. Let's let Jack go on this.
Yeah, I was just relieved, but that James would be going first. But I'll go first. Judy, I mean,
I can go first. I was just giving you age before beauty.
I'm okay. He's the owner. If he wants to stay as GM, it's his team. If he feels he can do the best job, it's his team. Let him stay on as GM. The last 2 years, the Cowboys have had losing records. We have to point that out. He hasn't gotten it done. I mean, the 3 years before, they were 12-5. They flopped in the playoffs, but at least they were good. They were good. You can't fault them for those 3 years. Fans just tend to look what happens at the end. You could have a good regular season. You don't get it done in the playoffs. They call for changes. I mean, it happens all the time. But these last 2 years, the fans have justification. I mean, but if you look at the Cowboy organization from a winning and losing perspective, they've been better than a lot of teams. I mean, since they won their Super Bowls in the 90s. I know they haven't won since 1994, but I could sit down with you and I could match up the Cowboys, what they've done with other teams, and they've done a lot better than a number of them. If I'm Jerry Jones, do I want to bring someone in? Does Jerry feel he needs to hold on to that power thing, the decision making? And it's tough to relinquish it. Jerry likes being in on the draft picks. He likes having the final say on things. I mean, I'll give you a name who would, if he had full control, would jump at the chance of being GM of the Cowboys. If he'd have full control, it'd be Troy Aikman. Troy Aikman expressed interest in it. But anyone taking that job knows the specter Jerry Jones is hanging over them. And should he relinquish his position with the Dallas Cowboys? I mean, I'd say no. I'd have to, because he doesn't want to, and he's the owner. And he hasn't done a bad job. I mean, he hasn't done a good job. He's been average the whole way. Next year is going to be telling. Okay, they got Quinnen Williams. They're going to be in a decent draft position. They have some talented players. I'm not crazy about his coaching hire, Brian Schottenheimer, even though you can't win with Brian Schottenheimer. But so the answer is no if Jerry wants to stay as the GM of the Cowboys. He's the owner. They're not a disaster like my New York Jets, who I might tell Woody Johnson. If Woody Johnson, the Jet owner, was the GM, I'd say he absolutely should relinquish it. I'd sit down with him and say, Woody, this is not working. This is a mess here with the Jets. You got to bring in someone else. But with Jerry, there's been success. Even the last 2 seasons, they've had losing records, but they're not a disaster. They're not that far from turning the corner. So if Jerry wants to stay, let Jerry stay.
So Jerry Jones has a history of being an excellent GM, drafting some great players, I think. Looking at, they found, even though I don't think he's a fine, I watch the SEC and I knew he was a great player, but they got Dak Prescott in the 4th round. And they found Tony Romo as a free agent, as a quarterback. So they pick up some really good players over the years and have some really, really good players on both sides of the ball. But right now, Jerry Jones probably needs to change his name from Jerry Jones to Geriatric Jones, because it is definitely almost time for him to relinquish those duties. And I think the biggest reason is, I think it was a debacle to me with Micah Parsons. And that, I think that went the wrong way. And I think a big reason for that is the guy who is the negotiator, who is the manager. I know he said that he got Micah Parsons in there and they agreed upon some things, but Jerry knew what he was doing. You don't talk to the player who's only 25, 26. You talk to his agent and deal with that. Jerry's trying to be slick. And so with that said, he's getting a lot older. You can see he's slowing down. I think that he should relinquish the duties to someone, get a GM and someone young and spry, that's not geriatric. Sorry, Jack. I think that he should definitely
take a bullet.
Should definitely get someone younger that's going to be able to do things a lot better and relate to the players. I'm not saying as a manager you're supposed to be their friend, but at the same time, a lot of times the age gaps, like baby boomer, Generation X, millennials, Z's. A lot of these players are Z's now. It's a drastic difference between how you see things. And so you got to get somebody that's closer to that age group that can probably say, I understand where this kid is coming from. We're going to work a deal better out. Because those guys were standing at the All-Star game or Pro Bowl when George Pickens was standing there being asked about the contracts. Every guy that had dealt with Jerry with their contract and all the craziness and the clown stuff that came with it was standing there just rolling their eyes because they knew what was coming for George Pickens. So you can't keep doing the same thing over and over again like that and expecting it to have success. They've made the playoffs 4 times in a row with 12-9, but hadn't gotten any success there. They're trying to get to a Super Bowl. They've been trying to get to a Super Bowl since 1995. So it's not going to happen, I don't think, under Jerry Jones anymore. You got to find somebody new at that position. Be the owner and ride yourself off into the sunset, but you got to let somebody else handle that position.
Well, you just right. Why doesn't he sell the? Why don't you just tell him to sell the team? That he's worn out. Have him just sell the team. Recommend he sells the team and moves on and goes.
It wouldn't be a bad move. They're worth more than any team in the league.
Right, I'm sure Jerry will enjoy the money going on cruises and other stuff. It'll bring him more joy and more.
You know about the shuffleboard better than anybody, sir.
Yeah, I'm in a heck of a lot better shape than you, James. I work out all the time. You're the one that's the couch potato. I'm the one out running, going to the gym.
running,
don't know that, so
sir.
I'm in much better shape than you. So,
running and working out are two different things. We both work out.
And you would play it to keep in shape. That's the difference. Okay, but Jerry has Stephen Jones. Okay, Stephen Jones. So you're asking someone younger who's more vibrant. He has a son who works with him on the team. And even when we had Jim Jeffcoat on, he would say Steven runs the team more than Jerry. Jerry is the one with the profile. Jerry is the one who does the interviews. But the hardcore decision making, Jerry does have people. Jerry doesn't override everyone on these decisions. Maybe the Micah Parsons one he did. I'll give you that one. Maybe the Micah Parsons one he did, but that wasn't such a bad move. They got Quentin Williams with one of the number 1 picks. They gave up a number 2 as well. Quentin Williams, quality guy, I know from my Jets. They have another number 1. They got cap flexibility. And it's debatable how the Micah Parsons deal wasn't like Luka going to the Lakers. I mean, it wasn't that bad. And you could argue maybe it'll benefit the Cowboys in the long run, and maybe it was win-win because it was a good deal for the Packers, maybe good for the Cowboys. Well, we'll see. But it's Jerry's team. If I was the owner, I wouldn't have Jerry Jones as my GM. But Jerry is the owner. That's the point.
Yeah, I gotta agree with that one. I knew it's gonna come to that point when somebody was gonna mention that. Yes, he should relinquish his position as GM for Dallas Cowboys, but he's the owner of the team. He likes the spotlight. He likes to put Dallas on the map. I mean, he said that many times. He does stuff just to get Dallas in the news so people are talking about Dallas. And it works every time because I can't tell you, beyond our shows, what's on TV, you see it all the time.
But everything you're saying, he's doing that as the owner. He can still do that as the owner. No one can take that away from him. But like you said, making a decision. If Steven's making the decisions, then they should just go out and say that you relinquish the responsibilities to your son. Say that. Just give him a title.
We know that, but we know that. We know that it's not a secret. Look at the Johnny Manziel situation. Jerry wanted to draft Johnny Manziel over Zach Martin years ago, and he was arguing with all his people. And even, they all overrode him. No, we don't want Johnny Manziel. We want Zach Martin. I mean, owners, but listen, if it's your team, you're entitled to get involved as long as you don't meddle too much. You have to let people do their jobs. I mean, look what's going on at Cleveland, with the owner, with Jimmy Haslett and the Shador, Sanders situation. But then again, James, you might say that Jimmy Haslett was vindicated because Shador Sanders was a Pro Bowler.
I wouldn't say that. I would say that whole situation is a debacle as a team. It's just
not a mess.
And that owner is not Jerry Jones, though. That's the point.
James, would you call the Cowboys a mess? You call the Browns a mess. You call the Jets a mess. Okay? Would you call the Cowboys a mess? I wouldn't go that far.
I wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't go that far. No, I mean, I just mentioned that they had 4 12-win seasons under Mike McCarthy. So no, you can't call that a mess. That's success. Even if they don't win playoff games, you got winning games is still a premium consistently. That's a premium. So you can't argue that at all.
It's more like controlled chaos. I'll put it to you like that. For a team to be considered America's team. Okay, well, I'm just going to throw that out there. And the fact that they've won as many Super Bowls as they won, and it's been 30 years since Robert has a good point. Their GMs wouldn't last in this league if they haven't won a Super Bowl in that amount of time. They wouldn't. And as far as his son, yes, being the GM and doing all kinds of stuff, it still comes down to the fact if Jerry Jones doesn't like something, unless in a rare case he gets overridden, okay, like the Zach Martin ordeal. But he's gonna come out of if his son does something and he's like, oh hell no, that ain't gonna work, man. No, we're not doing that. He is gonna do that. That's what Jerry Jones is gonna do. He's gonna do that. And as long as he's the owner of that team, he is gonna be that guy. No matter what. Now, I agree with Jack about the whole situation. That team has been successful over the years, more than a lot of teams. I point to my team as well. I would love to have the records that Dallas. I love my team to have the records that Dallas has, even if I didn't get to the Super Bowl. I'd love to have that because at least it gives you some hope. But Dallas is to a certain point where the fans are like here. They expect this team to win Super Bowls every year. It's like next year is Dallas's year. We all joke about that. Everybody jokes about that. You know how Dallas Cowboy fans are. But that's the expectations that team has. It's not an expectation that you're going to see that with the Lions. That's not an expectation you're going to see that with the Jets. I mean, we all want our teams to get to the Super Bowl. We all want our teams to get to the Super Bowl. But Dallas is held at such a high point. It's like New England. New England is held to that high standard of getting.
So is San Francisco.
Yeah,
so is San Francisco.
Teams that have been to multiple Super Bowls are expected.
Yes, absolutely.
Pittsburgh Steelers is another team. They haven't been to they've been to a Super Bowl since what, 2010? Something like right there. But I mean, they're still held to that.
Let me tell you how bad things are with franchises. Yesterday, I watched on YouTube NFL Films, the Jets, the game they won beating the Oakland Raiders in December 1968 to go to the Super Bowl. So that's how bad things could be with franchises. Think of that. I'm turning into a game that was played in December 1968 and watching the film, you know, the glory days of the Jet franchise. And,
68, yeah. Jack, 57. That's what I got to look at for championship games. So, like I said, at least the Jets have been in the Super Bowl, okay? So
and I get don't forget, Jack, and I want to ask you this question, Jack, before we go. 2008 and 2009 Jets, did you think they had an opportunity to get to the Super Bowl under Rex Ryan?
Well, they went to the AFC Championship game.
That's what I'm saying. Did you think they have an opportunity to get to?
Ryan said it best. You're in the hope business. If you have hope year after year of maybe getting to the Super Bowl, it keeps you going, even if you never get there. It's when you have no hope going into a season, then it's bad. Like next season, the NFL season, I got no hope for the Jets going into the Super Bowl. I know Mike Vrabel showed things could change in 1 year drastically. I mean, no one really thought New England was going to the Super Bowl. But realistically, you want hope. Ryan will have hope with his team. You're going to have some hope with the Saints winning their division possibly next year. I mean, but what hope is there, you know, for certain franchises for, you know, next season? Cowboys at least are going to have hope next year to maybe even win their division.
Yeah, they always have hope every year. I mean, that's the strength of their fan base. They have that hope. And I think that Jerry Jones realizes that. He just strings them along. I kind of give it to the same, but not as successful as the Fords. The Fords do that all the time too. They like to put butts in chairs, but they don't want to do the end of the. And if people say, "Oh well, William Clay Ford always you wanted to win a Super Bowl," well, I couldn't tell that he was as long as he was around, he wasn't trying to build that team up. He had one superstar, did not build anything around him. So I don't know what the heck they were talking about. I mean, it's proof's in the pudding. So yeah, Jeff fans can have hope.
Quickly before we go, by coincidence, I went to the library a few years ago. I got this giant book called like The Last Cowboy on Tom Landry. And I'm just started reading it.
I remember
it seemed
that
to
book.
talk a little negatively about Jerry Jones, the way he, you know, put Landry down. So that's kind of interesting, this topic, and me just having taken the book out.
Yeah, I heard of that book too, as a matter of fact. All right, so that will conclude our day. Did you have anything else, James? I see you were about to say something.
No. I was just smiling. I was thinking about the book that Jack was talking about. I need to go look into that.
Yeah. But anyway, this concludes this show. Join us tomorrow at 8 a.m. for the Sunday morning sports show. with the same panel that you see on here. Hopefully Keith will be on there. He's going to try to, because he's enjoying his retirement. So good for him. Good for him, by the way. Other than that, everybody have a great day.
Thank you.